Any from those in the committee meeting room? Yes, please approach the podium, introduce yourself, and welcome to committee.
Good morning, Chair Warren and committee. Name is Mike Fonkert with Kansas Appleseed Center for Law and Justice. I have two requests this morning. The first is 25 RS 0430 relating to prohibiting fines and fees for justice-involved youth.
The bill will be so introduced.
Thank you. The second would be 25 RS 0763 relating to limiting the use of restraints on juveniles in courtroom settings.
Thank you. The bill will be so introduced.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else with a request for bill introductions? Not seeing any, then I want to make a public service announcement, if you will, regarding conferees and testimony for bill hearings. We do have a process on our website that you can find at the Kansas Legislature website for submitting testimony and for signing up to be a conferee, whether it's providing written only testimony or oral testimony, whether it's on WebEx, you're going to appear, or whether it's going to be in the committee meeting room. And the process also includes, we're having a little bit of difficulty making sure that conferees fill out the form when they submit their testimony. And the form provides some very important information about who you are, who you're with, and your position on the bill. Are you a proponent? Are you neutral? Are you an opponent? And how you intend to appear in person, on WebEx, or written testimony only. So we're going to need to make sure we follow the procedures set out on our website. And if you have any questions, of course, please call the office or email your question. But it's going to make our process run a lot smoother if we can follow that. And we also need to make sure that you'll see that the committee requires 18 hard copies of the PDF that you mail of your testimony. So we want to make sure that you get that turned in. You need to get all of that turned in, your copies and your PDF email, at least 24 hours prior to the scheduled hearing. So that would be by 10 a.m. the day before would be very helpful. So if we have a Monday hearing, please get your testimony in the Friday before. So if there are any questions, we're available to answer them. So thank you very much for helping the committee run smoothly. You'll see we have a lot of bills to work, and especially this session, we're a shorter time frame. We're trying to work on that. So with that, thank you. We will open the hearing on Senate Bill 53, providing that the attorney members of the Board of Trustees of a county law library in certain counties shall be appointed by the Chief Judge of the Judicial District, and allowing such board to authorize the Chief Judge to use certain fees for the purpose of facilitating and enhancing functions of the District Court of the county. And with that, then, a bill brief from the reviser, Ms. Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure I need to follow up on your pretty thorough bill brief there, but I'll go through the two the substantive sections that are being amended. KSA 203127 is the statute we're amending here. That's the statute that relates to the Board of Trustees for county law libraries. Current law provides that the Board of Trustees of the law library in all the counties except for Johnson, Sedgwick, and Douglas consist of the district judge or judges of the district court, and then not fewer than 2 attorneys who shall be elected for 2-year terms by a majority of the attorneys who reside in that county. This bill would change that attorney membership. It would stay at not fewer than 2 attorneys, and those attorneys would be required to reside in the county, and they would be appointed by the chief judge of the judicial district there. The bill also amends subsection F to provide that the fees that are collected pursuant to KSA 203129, that's the statute that authorizes the clerk of the district court to tax a library fee. It allows those fees to be used for the purpose of facilitating and enhancing the functions of the district court in that county. And I can take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Well, thank you, Ms. Scott. Appreciate it. Our first proponent conferee is Chief Judge Bannister on behalf of the Kansas District Judges Association. He's appearing by WebEx. So please introduce yourself and welcome to committee. Judge Bannister, are you there on WebEx? Do we see that he's logged in? Okay. Judge, if you're trying to speak, we can't hear you and we can't see you either. I think it's probably technical difficulties on our end because I think well, while we try to troubleshoot that, we do have another proponent conferee, Joshua Nye, County Attorney, Jefferson County Attorney's Office. So please introduce yourself and welcome to committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Josh Nye. I'm just started my third term as the County Attorney in Jefferson County. Sorry I didn't have paper copies for your folders, but I did bring them to distribute as well. But I served on the Kansas Rural Justice Initiative of the Supreme Court that we heard a lot about during the State of the Judiciary address this year. And it was a great service. And as part of our subcommittee, as I outlined in my written testimony, the issue of law libraries as being a resource and concept that goes back many decades for every county in Kansas, being a resource not only for attorneys, but also for the citizens.
We're going to distribute your written testimony so we can have that at the time. Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
But the concept of law libraries being a place where even pro se litigants can access resources to help them in navigating the justice system was, and I even attended a conference with some of the justices and other members of the court staff, state court staff in Michigan, talking about various ideas of expanding justice to rural areas. Our committee was looking specifically at, and the initiative was looking specifically at getting attorneys into depopulated areas when some of these rural counties don't even have one resident attorney practicing anymore, or at least the one that is practicing is close to retirement. Jefferson County sits just east of here, north of Lawrence, and even Jefferson County, wherein we have Topeka on our west and Lawrence to the south, Kansas City to the east, and Atchison, Holton to the northeast and northwest. We're kind of a legal desert in a lot of ways. It's a bedroom community, but the practicing bar there really has dwindled with various retirements, especially after COVID. And so this is one issue that I spotted even just in my own experience as county attorney in asking the questions over the last 16 years, what do we use our law library funds for? How is that managed? And actually looking up the statute, realizing that, oh, we're supposed to be having an election with our bar for the past many years, but really, as I put in my testimony, the reality of that is more that you have these ad hoc volunteers in many counties with no relation necessarily to the formal election requirements of the statute. So in that subcommittee, we came up with the idea that really it would be nice for those who are vested with the important responsibility of stewarding public funds, especially those funds that are funded through fines and other costs of the court system, not just attorney dues. I think our dues are $10 a year, so that's not the principal source of revenue. But those who are vested with that responsibility have some official vesting of that responsibility when the reality is, I don't know the last time we did have an election. And so this bill would change that to an appointment method by the chief judge in our district. We have a 4-county district, and would allow those positions to be filled with attorneys as well as the presiding judges in that district. We have, or in that county, we have one district court judge in Jefferson County, and then we also have a magistrate, but the district court judge would sit on that board of trustees as well as 2 attorneys. So I think this is a good change. I urge you to consider it as a way of bringing, and I'm not saying there's no legitimacy in the current operations, but if you do pass a law, you ultimately want it to be followed, and I think the election requirement ultimately is burdensome on a lot of district court clerks that are just trying to keep up with caseloads and whatnot. So I'll stand for any questions on that.
Thank you, Mr. Nye. Committee, any questions? Senator Reichman.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I guess sounds like a reasonable suggestion. My question, though, is how many counties are we talking about here?
I don't have that information. The fact that Jefferson County finds itself in this situation, I don't think it was a one-off. I did actually bring on a high school student during the Rural Justice Initiative as an intern from one of our local high schools that was interested in law, just to give him exposure, and I tasked him with this a responsibility of trying to call various law libraries around the state and see who was the point person, the district court clerk's office, or if there was an organized bar, who was there are some counties that have very robust organized bars, even in rural settings, but it was hit and miss as far as even finding where to start on that. So that's more circumstantial evidence to your question versus direct evidence. But there's just kind of a general feeling that these are underutilized, and if they were utilized at least in a form of at least three persons that are on the board of trustees that the OJA and the Supreme Court could have contact with, we can start to brainstorm other ideas like these legal kiosks or other types of statewide initiatives, but we need to build the infrastructure first, and it's very hit and miss.
Oh, thank you. And well, I'd be kind of interested, really I would be interested if I was going to vote for something. I'd like to know how it's going to affect, across the state, or how it could be in there. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Committee, other questions? Not seeing any, then thank you very much for the presentation and the information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Do we have Chief Judge Bannister ready for testimony on WebEx? We're hearing now it's something on Chief Judge's end. I think if you can check to make sure your mic and your camera are on. It doesn't look like we're having much success in connecting. Well, we do have written testimony, I believe, from the judge in our committee folder that is at your desk. Yes, we do. So I think we'll have to then rely on just the written testimony as it was submitted, since we're not able to connect virtually with Chief Judge Bannister. Is there a method where he can call in then? There's a phone number? Okay. Judge, our information technology assistant is going to email you a phone number to call. Well, I think Chief Judge is still working on getting connected. Are we making progress? All right, we've sent him a new link. Thank you for that. Well, we'll give it just a few more minutes here, and then we're going to proceed with just the written testimony.
Good morning.
Great, we can hear you, Judge. We've got an echo, so let us try to figure that out.
I will log out of the video WebEx that's probably causing that reverberation.
Well, committee does require video for testimony on WebEx, so we do need you to use your video. Can you turn that on?
I've been able to see
When
and
we're on the
hear
phone
you.
at this point. Is your camera
Sorry.
on? Yeah, if you can turn your camera on and then speak using the telephone, I think we'll mesh it together and we'll have what we need.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Again, my apologies. I've been able to see the committee, the prior speakers, and can see myself on the WebEx platform, but obviously you cannot on your end. My device says my video is on.
That your camera's on?
Correct, Madam Chairwoman.
Just a moment. We can see you, Judge. Okay. All right,
Thank you
there's
for
some
your,
success. We can see you and hear you. So go ahead. Please introduce yourself and welcome to committee.
thank you for your patience and indulgence. Do you know if the sound's coming through my phone or the WebEx?
Well, whichever, we can hear you. So that's a good thing.
Okay, I won't worry about that then. Well, after those challenges, good morning, Madam Chairwoman Warren and members of the committee. My name is Grant Bannister. I am the Chief District Court Judge of the 21st Judicial District, comprised of Riley and Clay counties. I'm also a member of the Kansas District Judges Association Executive Committee. County law libraries are funded from two local sources. First, from annual attorney registration fees for those within the county. Second, from a small fraction of court filing fees. The current statute states that fees collected from the first source can be used for the purpose of facilitating and enhancing functions of the District Court of County. The amendment would simply allow the second source to be used for that purpose as well. Understand that it is the law library trustees, not the judges or the chief judge, that decides how the funds are used. Absent this amendment, the result is the second source of funds becomes a stranded asset, when in reality, there are many related needs that can be served by these funds to enhance access to justice and serve both the public and the bar. A predominant example would be supporting a self-help legal center on both the county's website and a designated location within the courthouse, providing legal access to the public for both research and basic forms that self-represented litigants could navigate. Additionally, the funds could supplement certain technology that would allow greater access to justice and legal research. A few examples include providing Wi-Fi access to the public at the courthouse, checking out devices such as tablets or mini iPads that would allow Zoom court appearances in certain non-evidentiary circumstances. And this would allow litigants to minimize disruptions in terms of work obligations, childcare, and eliminate the barriers of travel for impoverished litigants. Some counties, maybe even many counties, no longer maintain the numerous volumes of traditional hardbound law library books. Due to a shift in demand for online services, access beyond hours that the courthouse is open, and limited space in the traditional limestone buildings that are confined. Raleigh County, for example, houses its law library at the public library. This allows greater access where computer terminals are provided with access to paid Westlaw subscriptions. Everyone, but particularly the public and younger attorneys, can readily conduct legal research in this manner. This fits their needs better than endless, dusty, hardbound volumes of the American Law Reporter. This can be one tool to address the lack of attorneys in certain regions by making additional resources available to self-represented litigants. We are asking the committee to approve the minor amendment that would enhance access to justice for the public and the quality of legal research available to small businesses, members of the local bar, which is to everybody's benefit. The bottom line is the court's asking for a minor amendment on line number 38 of the bill, simply adding the word and citing the additional statute of 20-3129. I recognize I've not provided a lot of background to law libraries that most would not otherwise be familiar, and would be happy to provide more information in that regard and stand for questions.
Thank you, Judge. Committee, any questions? Judge, I want to thank you for your presentation and for bringing an issue to the legislature's attention and for your testimony today. I don't see any questions. So with that, then, thank you very much, Judge. Appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank
working through
you.
the technical difficulties with us.
Thank you for working through those. My apologies, and I'm glad to have this opportunity.
Thank you, Judge. Are there any other proponent conferees in the committee meeting room or on WebEx? Do we have any neutral or opponent conferees on WebEx or the committee meeting room? Not seeing any, then we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 53. And committee, with that, then that concludes our agenda for today. We are meeting Wednesday and Thursday this week for a couple of bill hearings, and meeting on call of the chair Friday. Not planning on calling a meeting, but just listen for announcements if we do need to. So with that, thank you, and we are adjourned.